The reason you're not winning games in CFB 26 like you want is simply because you're using the wrong settings. Maybe you didn't know there was a way to change players mid-play on defense or a way to guarantee a perfect pass every single time. Don't worry, I'm going to solve all your settings issues and more with 5 hidden settings you need to make sure you're using here in CFB 26. And the last setting is the most important one that you're not going to want to miss. Let's jump right into it. All right, so that first setting that I want to show you is one that will make your passing offense way better because you're actually going to be using the right passing settings. Let me show you. All right, so if we pause our game right here, we come into options, we come into settings, all right? Then we come into game options, placement and accuracy, all right? Is the setting you want to make sure you're using passing, slowdown off, pass lead increase on small, radical speed on 8 out of 20, although I think anything between 5 and 20 is fine. And then obviously these don't really matter, but those are the best passing settings, and I'm going to show you why right here. Because if we come into any formation, doesn't really matter what offense you run, and we call a play. All right, the main objective of freeform is to put the ball exactly where you want it to go, obviously. All right, so we're just going to take this snap right here. This is a great example because you're just trying to get the ball out in front of that receiver. We do a great job right there, and then we're kind of able to turn it into a big gain because we use freeform passing. Essentially, I'm not saying that if you don't use freeform, it's guaranteed for the ball to be behind the receiver, but you have much more control when you actually hold left trigger and lead that ball out in front of the receiver. So again, right here, and this is another great example of freeform because that time you're just trying to get that ball out in front of that receiver as well. Now, I threw it out of the back of the end zone, so there is some risk associated with it. You have to practice and you have to get good with it, but essentially, you're holding left trigger as you're throwing the ball, and then you're going to aim the left stick in the direction of where you want the ball to go. So again, this is very valuable on underneath throws because essentially, like right there, there's another defender, like that's airtight coverage, but I'm just able to put that ball in the perfect spot, and I'm not saying you want to throw into contested, targets here, but look how great of coverage this is. But I'm just able to get that ball out in front of this receiver so that the defender number 5 can't catch it, but my tight end is actually able to bring it in. So again, right here, take the snap. This is tight man coverage, and that's a great example of why you need freeform because if that ball's behind him, he gets tackled earlier or the defender is able to break on the pass, right? But honestly, man coverage is probably the best example of when you need to practice your freeform, right? Because we're just going to run off man coverage right here, and I want to show you this. So we're going to put this wide receiver on a corner. And man coverage, I'm just going to take this snap, and probably what you're doing is just pressing the button. Right? Did we bring that pass in? Sure, but like that's just not going to work very often, right? That's kind of a lucky animation. So I'm going to try it again right here. But when you actually try to throw these passes, you just see how the ball, that's too tight of coverage. There's nowhere to put the ball. Right? And again, your receiver does need to create separation, right? So not saying that freeform is going to solve all your issues, but if you call or they call a defense like this, you want to be able to lead that pass outside. Now again, right there's some risk associated with it. That was really great coverage, and so there's nowhere to put the ball, right? So your quarterback's just going to lead that ball out of bounds. Right, but my point just being that if they're going to run man coverage, and maybe I should just put my guy on a drag. Maybe that would be a better example, right? We put him on a drag. We need this ball to be out in front of this man. Just like that, so that he can just bring that pass in, continue running, run after catch, and pick up easy yards. So those are the best passing settings, freeform passing. It's very important to be able to have that control over where the ball's going, and freeform is really the only way to guarantee that. All right, so like I also said in the intro, there's a way to allow you to switch players on defense mid-play. Let me show you the best settings to use to maximize that ability. Alright, so what I'm referring to here actually is the switch stick, alright? So we're going to come into a play right here on defense, and it doesn't matter the play, but if you flick the right stick, you're going to be able to change players mid-play on defense and basically take away routes. The one thing you need to understand, though, is you cannot have your user blitzing, or the player that you're trying to switch off of, he can't be blitzing, because you're going to see right here, I'm trying to use the switch stick, and now with the right stick, and I'm just not having any success. I didn't change players one time in that play. And that would totally screw you over on defense when you're trying to switch stick, but the game won't let you, all right? And so really the best way to solve that is simply make sure your user or the player you're trying to switch off of is in a coverage assignment like right here, or he's manned up onto somebody like in a man coverage assignment like this on the running back, right? So essentially, you just flick the right stick in the direction of the guy you want to switch onto. So this is really good when they call a good play to attack certain areas of the field. You see, I'm able to come down, take that away, come down, take this away, and you can switch multiple times in one play. And like, again, if they call like a high-low or a flood concept, something like this, right, I'm able to switch and kind of just take everything away. Switch on the slot corner, come down, switch here. Like now we're everywhere. That's perfect defense, and it all happens so fast that with the pass rush in combination with it, they're going to have nowhere to go with the ball. So the most important thing is making sure that you're actually, practicing that switch stick and practicing understanding what route concept they have called. Now, there is something right here in your settings that will turn this on or off. It's called switch stick delay. You want to make sure you have your switch stick delay on none. I don't even know why I had mine in slight right there, but slight isn't the end of the world, but you do want to use none. Now, if you disable switch stick, obviously you're disabling switch stick, which defeats the purpose of this segment. Don't do that. But moderate, all of these other ones are just bad, right? If you just use moderate, all you're doing is really delaying your switch, which isn't good, right? You're not able to tell, but I am. This feels way different. Moderate, like I'm telling you, slight and none, there's not that big of a difference. But when you use moderate, dude, this is terrible. Like these switches, I'm having to switch like twice actually to be able to get it to work properly, right? So make sure you're not using disabled. Make sure you're not using moderate for sure. And then obviously just don't use slight because you don't want there to be any delay. You want it to be as fast as possible. There's already input delay. There's already lag. You don't need for EA to add any more fluke and randomness to your switch stick. Literally, just like, this is terrible. I'm turning this off as soon as the segment's over. Like, it's so much harder to switch stick on anything besides none. So again, recap with the switch stick. You're flicking the right stick in the direction of the guy you want to switch onto. But again, you want to make sure that you have the right setting equipped in your game options so that you can switch as fast as possible, which the only way to really guarantee that is to make sure switch stick delay is on none. Alright, I know some of these secrets can be a little bit harder to remember and keep into your next game. That's why I created written tactile breakdowns. You can go to the link down below in the pinned comment and try it out your first month for only $1, where I give you over 5 written breakdowns, step-by-step instructions of everything that I talk about in this video and many of my other videos. It's the best way to understand the game because all of it's going to be saved right on your phone. Again, go to the link down below in the pinned comment, check it out, get your first month for only $1. I guarantee it'll help you out win more games here in College Football 26. Let's jump right back into it. All right, another question that I get all the time. BLT, what are the best coaching adjustments that I need to be using right now? Let me show you. Alright, so we're going to just have them in random pass plays here, but let me break down the best coaching adjustments here, right? And what they do. Auto flip. What this does is it puts your slot corner, it tells your slot corner to line up on the same side as the slot receiver or not. If you turn it off, essentially you're going to be able to control which side he comes out on by flipping your play. Right? And so if you guess wrong, he comes out on the wrong side, which can misalign your defense. Sometimes it is valuable, like if you want a certain blitz off of a certain side every single time, this can help you. But for the most part, 95% of the time, I'd say just leave it on. All right, cornerback matchups, you want to make sure this is only on balance. If you ever turn this on anything else, it could literally ruin your whole defense crisscross and give up one-play touchdowns. So make sure this is on balance. Same thing with defensive motion response. You don't want your zone defenders following receivers across the field in zone coverage. Doesn't even make any sense. Just make sure it's disabled. The option keys, you just need to understand what you want to do with your user and then let the CPU do the other one. So what I mean by that is if you want to focus, like I like to focus on the quarterback on the option, so let the AI focus on the dive, right? So that's when I would use aggressive. So that's what you want to do for all of these option and RPO keys. I would, again, make sure we have aggressive for the RPO pass key. But these are the big ones, the zone drops, right? These are going to depend on the situation, but there's certain use cases for different zone drops. If I'm trying to stop corner routes, I'm going to set them to 25 yards or 25 yards. Or I can use match coverage, which if you're going to run any match-based play like cover 4 palms, cover 6, cover 9 show 2, cover 6 Willie, right? If you're going to run any match-based play, all three of these have to be on default. So again, that's what I mean when I say it kind of depends on the situation. But for the most part, if you just want to set them and forget them, just put your crow flats on 5. That's a pretty good baseline. Then you can call any play and it's going to behave how it really should. All right, but these are probably the most important: safety, depth, close, width on pinch. Why? This prevents you from getting beat up the seam all the time, right? And the only time I would say you don't want to use safety, depth, and close with your width on pinch is if they have really faster receivers than you have DBs. Then you don't want to get beat over the top. But for the most part, these guys, they do a great job of recovering, but also taking away the seam. So again, right here, take the snap, look right at the seam, and then there's just a defender sitting there. And also that safety is sitting there as well. So it's essentially taking away a lot of the airspace. So again, right here, we're going to put RB on a streak. We're going to throw that, and you can just see how the safety is able to break on that pass a lot sooner because he's close to the line of scrimmage and he's able to knock that pass away. So really, that's the most important setting, because look at the airspace in between number 2 and number 8. It's basically nowhere. He can't fit this pass in. Easy reaction. We knock the pass away, or sometimes you can get a tip interception. So those are the best coaching adjustments. Some of them depend on what you want to do. It might be different from what I want to do, but for the most part, a lot of it's the same. You want to use zone drops when they should be used and how they should be used, and then you want to use safety, depth, and close with your width on pinch to help you against those seam passes. All right, before I jump into the final 2 settings, I wanted to remind you to go down below and hit that subscribe button. I break down settings, tips, and tricks just like this here on CFB 26 every single day, and you're not going to miss out on any of them. Let's jump right back into it. All right, what if I told you there's a way to make sure your opponent never really knows what coverage you're in and they're always guessing? Let me introduce you to something you might not know about, another hidden setting: coverage shells. All right, so when we talk about coverage shells, right, all you really need to do is flick the right stick up or down to kind of change your coverage shells. You can see your options here. You have default, cover 0, cover 2 man, cover 2, 3, 4, and 6, right? So essentially, there's a couple of good use cases for this. One of my favorites is honestly just calling a cover 3 defense and then disguising it as a cover 2 or shelling it as a cover 2. Why? Because when you combine that with safety, depth, and close and width on pinch, you get this look, which to me as an offense, this is just screaming cover 2. And for example, a great route concept to beat cover 2 is just attacking them up the sideline with a fade route. Right, so you just run 2. If they were actually in cover 2, this flat or this fade to X would run right over the cloud flat, and then I would have a wide open pass on the sideline. So essentially, you're going to get them to call route concepts that beat cover 2, but really you're going to be in cover 3. So again, if we just actually call this play as an offense, you're going to see how this is easily going to get guarded. Right, you user the crosser, you user the post, but as far as their main kind of play or route that they're looking for, it's completely taken away on the sideline, because again, we're in a different coverage than what we're showing. Right, obviously this isn't a route concept that's good against cover 3. Right, the outside third will just sit on the fade, and then the inside third will just sit on the shriek. So this isn't a play that you want to call against that particular defense, and that's what makes coverage shell so useful. Is there's a lot of people in this game, they want to just read coverages. This is a textbook cover 2 defense look, and then you're just disguising it and you're really dropping into a cover 3. So running cover 3 but disguising as cover 2 is one great use case. But I'll give you another one that I like right here, and that's going to be disguising your defense as a cover 0 when you're in cover 2 or cover 3, any zone defense, right? Because now you're going to see what's going to happen. And I only like to pull this out a few times a game if I need to. If we look at this from an offensive perspective, this just looks like cover 0. Everyone's lined up one-on-one. The safeties are closer to the line of scrimmage. They're more inside. Like, this just looks like they're going to be in man, possibly blitzing us. And so really, what does that create? Well, now I can just run, because on defense, obviously we're really in cover 2. So I can just call cover 2 hard flat now, and this is what I do all the time and bait people. Now they're just going to call a route concept more geared towards beating man coverage, right? And so maybe that looks like they're going to have a whole bunch of man beaters, crossers, slants, put an out route on the field, right? Like this isn't a bad route concept against man coverage. But you're going to see no one's going to get open because we're just sitting on everything. Again, I don't have a user on the field, but that slant would easily be guarded, right? So we're everywhere that we need to be, simply because we're showing them a different defense than we're in, right? And a lot of the time, it's 4th down, everyone's nervous, they're just going to quick throw it out, but you're really just sitting on it very easily, and then you're able to kind of take away all these other reads and other routes on the field. So using coverage shells, and people ask me all the time, DLT, how do I read coverage shells? You don't. That's the point. When they're in defense, it's impossible to read a shell. They're showing you something that they're not in. That's why it's so valuable in defense, and that's honestly why you need to start using it yourself. All right, I kind of alluded to this earlier, but I want to show you what will happen if you use the wrong cornerback matchup settings or you turn auto flip off. All right, this is super important. So I know I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I really want to hone in on this for you guys, why this is important, all right? So when it comes to auto flip defensive play, we're going to turn this off. Right, we're going to turn it off, and you're going to see I can now flip my play, which some people like the ability to do this, right? It's cool. You get to control where your slot corner and how your defense lines up. So right here, I guessed correctly, right? Well, really, no, I guessed wrong. This is my slot corner. He's actually supposed to line up over here. You can see his zone is over here. So that would be a problem, because you see how he lined up over here, but really his zone is over there? That's stupid. That makes no sense. So then eventually you would just have to move him over here, right, yourself, which is just another adjustment that you have to make, right? But now you can see your hook curl defender, this linebacker, is now on the same side as the slot receiver, which gives you less, like, control. Because now if you want to man him up, he's not going to do as good of a job in man coverage as a slot corner would. He'll probably get fried, right? Whether they want to run an out, they want to run a corner, they want to run a drag. He's not well equipped. Doesn't have the ratings to be able to defend this guy. Versus if you just left auto flip on, let EA tell you, or let EA just decide what side your slot corner needs to come out on. So we come in and gun normal Y off again. Now we come into the same play for them, right? Now you're going to see your slot corner every single time, actually, he's going to line up on the same side as that slot receiver. And now if I wanted to man him up, now we can do that. Even if we wanted to route commit inside, potentially, if they were going to run a drag route, this is going to be excellent defense. All right, boom, we're going to take this snap right here. You're going to see how he's well equipped to be able to defend that. And so he's right there to just break on the pass and knock it away if it didn't get batted down. So that's why it's important to make sure you have auto flip on, because you want EA to control what side your slot corner comes out on, because they're going to get it right very often, and it's going to make the alignment of your defense a lot better. But we're going to come to the next setting that I want to show you, and that's cornerback matchups. Because I told you earlier where if you have this on by overall, by speed, by route running, by height, your defense will be misaligned when they no huddle. And this isn't going to happen to me necessarily in practice mode because I can't no huddle, but essentially, you're going to first play, it's going to be perfect, just like this. But if they no huddle down the field and you have them by speed, your guys are going to run back to the line of scrimmage. They're going to line up by speed, whatever that could be. So sometimes it'll be worse than others, because sometimes like they'll have to run all the way across the field. Sometimes they may not have to. But this could potentially happen for you, where you have a defense now looks like this because your whole team's trying to line up by whatever you have them set to. And of course your safeties are going to crisscross, right? And if your safeties crisscross, you're screwed, right? Because now your defense just looks like this. And so if they just call any play with like a shriek on the field, then they can just throw that pass over the top for an easy touchdown. So again, that's going to happen because when they no huddle, you have to your game's going to realign by speed or by whatever you have it set to. And so the only way to solve that is to actually use balance, always use balance, or call a timeout, which you don't want to waste timeouts because you have the wrong settings equipped. So the simple answer to this is don't use anything besides balance for your cornerback matchups. But those are two key and kind of hidden defensive settings that no one really talks about, but they're very important that you know what they do and know how you can use them correctly in your defense. All right, if you enjoyed any of those 5 secret settings that you need to be using in CFB 26 and they help you out, again, I encourage you to go down below, hit subscribe. I break down CFB 26 tips and tricks every single day, and you're not going to miss out on any of them. But again, go to the link down below in the pinned comment, grab your first written tactical breakdown by joining CFBU, and your first month will only be $1. Great program. It's going to completely transform the way you think about and understand the game. And please, don't let $1 be the reason you're still struggling to win games here in CFB 26. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.